o'clock. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Let's do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Cheney,
Here.
Commissioner Casterline,
Here.
Commissioner Russo, Commissioner Dudnik,
Here.
Judge Garza.
Here, we have a forum. And first off, we're gonna talk about revenues. I believe county auditor. Information is there.
Yes.
Morning.
I've given you several sheets, ran out of time to get them all consolidated on one, so we have several. Anna has done a sheet that shows what our revenues and what our additional tax levy would be for the no new revenue with just zero. If we did a 1%, a 1 cent, if we use the voter approval rate without the unused increments, and what the rate would be without with the unused increments, as well as comparing it to last year's tax. Last year's tax rate would still be under the voter approval rate with the unused increments, using those. Tam and I were told at a conference that we went to that the unused increments were going away after the year. And if we don't use them, we're gonna lose them. So,
Could you explain that to me, please?
well, they give you, you can have your voter, your no new revenue. And the legislature gave us a 3.5% that we could increase to the voter approval. That was what said your voter approval rate. If you never use those, which the county hasn't used, but maybe 1% or 1 cent. For 3 years, you can accrue and bank them is what they call it. And so you can increase your tax rate up to that using those increments without having to go for an election. As long as you stay under your voter approval rate with your increments. So we have the capability of going a little bit over our 3.5% because we have been banking them for the last 3 years. And you only can do this for 3 years. After 3 years, it drops off. The next one drops off, the oldest one does. So we do have the ability to increase our tax rate up to the 36 cents is what it is with the unused increments.
So that's last year's, it's highlighted in the other.
The one I highlighted is last year's, which is below the voter approval rate with the unused increments. I have not verified. Anna said she had not heard that we were going to lose them, but we have been told in several workshops that we were going to lose those at the end of this year. That was going away. They weren't going to let you bank anymore.
Yeah, I think that when they first came out with that, I remember them saying that you're gonna have so many years and.
You have, yeah, and we've heard that after this, you won't have anything but your 3.5. That we can verify and make sure. We all know, if you look at your very first page of the general fund, that what we have right now is going into fund balance by over $4 million. Going to reduce our fund balance to $2 million.
So when you say what we have right there, which page is that?
That's going to be in your budget, no, in your budget. Your very, very first page of the budget here. Saying we're going to go in by $4.5 million in the fund balance. Reduce our fund balance to less than, to just a little over $2 million.
And that's based on what was in there before any changes we made yesterday.
We're not a whole lot of changes, but yes, ma'am. And we have worked on revenues. We haven't really talked a lot about them, but the biggest thing that we are not collecting is our federal prisoners. We actually reduced that by $1.5 million this year because we do not anticipate, we're probably not even going to get $1 million. We budgeted $2.5 million. We're probably not, I don't think we'll make $1 million. So we have reduced that in what we anticipate this year as well as next year. I don't know what the answer is to that. We just had to do it because to be realistic and not,
I'd rather be realistic.
so That being said, what we've given you are several scenarios for tax rates and what revenue it would generate. And at the very bottom of each one of these pages, it tells you the additional revenue that would be generated from it. It's up to y'all for the call. I'm gonna jump out there and say, I think we should do last year's tax rate, which is under the voter approval rate with the use and use increments. It is an increase because it's everybody's increased values. You're not actually increasing the rate, but because of values, they're gonna have a tax increase.
Sure.
Our budget right now that we went over all yesterday. It's going into the reserve fund balance by 4.5 million.
And maybe more than that with what animal control added.
So
and
you'll
some of the
see on
others.
the screen, that is including what I've added for animal control. Now it's at 4,591.
This does include all of the step increases, does not include a COLA. There's no COLA in here at all. So we have some options.
How much did we go into fund balance last year?
3 million. We haven't gone into it yet. We actually still are on in the black by about $2.5 million. But I do anticipate us going in what we budgeted this year. Last year, we're going to be going into it by our audit. It's about $1.5 million that we reduced fund balance.
2022.
And we budgeted to go in 3 million for 23. I said we haven't gotten there yet, but we still have 5 months in the year. So I didn't think we were going into it last year, but we did. I still don't think we'll go in 3 million. I think everybody's being conservative and that we're probably going to see another drop of 1.5 to 2 million. Don't think of it. And it just depends on how the year ends. If we can hold things steady like they are now, we may not go in that much.
Previous revenue.
Yeah, I mean, that takes into account the reduced revenues. So that's, that's a big part of it right there. Yeah. There's some options here. These aren't the only options. Anna did another sheet. The second sheet shows you if we did an increase by increments of 50 cents, what the additional revenue would be generated from it. Just keep in mind that we can't go over probably
365.
Even if we went to as high as we could, we're still going into fund balance.
Yes,
Couple
we will still be going into fund down. We will still be, but there's some other things that I would like to visit with you about. That are potentials to take some of these expenses off. We were talking yesterday about the grant, the new grant that increases the
SB 22.
Yes.
It's with the.
it increases the salaries from the sheriff and the deputies and all this stuff. Since we need that, we can also use it for equipment. So we may be able to use the grant for the equipment that the sheriff's office is looking for.
Like bars and stuff like that.
That's probably about 300,000. Yeah, between the equipment, the radios and everything else, it was close to 400,000.
You really don't want to tie that to salaries because that's a short term.
No, the grant says they have to, if the county isn't paying the minimum, we're paying
And we're
the
already.
minimum or over, but you don't qualify for the grant unless you give the people a raise if you're not
Bring it up.
paying. Yeah,
Right.
but where do you?
But we can qualify for the grants, and we have talked to the sheriff about that, and I know Michael even mentioned it, the chief mentioned it yesterday. So that's an option, and I know I said the CO word yesterday. But
Thought lightning was gonna strike.
I don't know, I thought the judge was gonna shoot daggers at me. But it is a way to fund things long-term if we need to. I mean, I don't know that any of this was, I know L's needs were something that probably won't be able to be funded within the next 1 or 2 years. It could be something there. I'm just kind of throwing all of this out there
No, I
for y'all
appreciate
to
Lots of-
look at, think about, and I don't know anything, I don't know what y'all's ideas are on the tax rate. I will tell you, we'll need to look at an increase, whether it's to go to the 35 cents, if it's to go to 32 cents. We have really need to look at some kind of increase. Not just because of going into fund balance, but expenses have gone up. You know, and
What is
just
it?
to meet our everyday expenses, we're gonna have.
What's the new construction dollar amount?
You know,
Was you looking for it
I
on here?
have to look in her calculation or whatever.
Here, are you talking about new construction on the courthouse?
No, how in the tax base, because your rate,
Yeah, courthouse
your
is-
rate doesn't include that.
Right. And
I mean, it's never as much as you think it's gonna be. He used to put it right there where you could see it, but he didn't, at least I haven't found it.
When she's done these projections though, is she basing the tax levy on the current appraised value?
yes,
Not whatever we think it's going to end up being.
it's what they certified. It's what she's using for stuff.
So it's the new values.
Yeah. I'm sure that you.
Well, I'm pretty much against any increase at all, especially because the appraised values have gone up. And I feel like the court has allowed expenses to go up, sometimes exponentially when it can help them. And I don't want to burden the taxpayers any more than we need to.
Bubba, your question, the answer to your question, I'm sorry, is 156,102,000. That's what is adjusted for. I understand that. But I also. We don't have the funds to just continue to. Give it a different balance. And there's. We cut. What we cut, other than,
Well, we could cut more.
well, I mean, there's possible, but it's check well.
Do we have a dollar value for what the salary increases would be if we decided not to do this?
Yes.
Did you know that taxpayers talk? The taxpayers come to the meeting today, speak.
We did yesterday.
May I speak as a taxpayer, not as a county employee? Looking at the numbers and going into the fund balance, leaving us with less than $2 million in fund balance, staring at the taxpayer. Because of potential emergencies and natural disasters, it doesn't make sense. So from an economics background, which is where I come from, and as a taxpayer that relies on services that are provided by the city of Calico, I think you have to be realistic, like you were talking about, but it's either dramatically reduce the services that are provided to citizens to reduce costs, or it's increase taxes. We can't continue to increase services expected and provided without increasing taxes accordingly. And that's what this county's been doing for a long time. It's providing more, but not collecting more. And so we've been dipping into fund balance to do that. So to me, as a taxpayer, I do expect it to go up at some point to pay for all the things that I want to have the benefit of. I know your voters don't want to, generally voters don't want to pay more taxes. I get it. But I also want nice roads to drive on, and I want to make sure my house doesn't flood.
Goes back to the cost of doing.
Well, I mean, our costs have all gone
I
up.
was saying, you don't want to turn the air conditioner down because of you're gonna use more electricity, but it gets so hot, you do that. There's things you have to do, no matter what it is, and that's where we're in the same.
Our costs have increased just like everybody else's at home. I mean, our food costs more at the jail, everything costs more. So all, insurance, big time. As well as, salaries are part of it. But then again, those people are paying more at home too, so.
So I do have that calculation as well for the step increases is $289,400.
That's for the step increases.
All except for requested.
And,
You said it one more
and
time.
$289,400.
and I was kind of surprised that most of them held it to one, it seemed like.
Most.
I was really surprised by one particular one.
Well, perhaps they see the tide has changed.
Yeah,
That was just step increases.
Yes, sir.
And does that include the burdens associated with the step increases?
That does not.
So you're looking at another 100,000.
35%.
I just,
Yeah.
I'm a rounder, so I round it. It's easier to look at numbers for me.
Well, if we get rid of that, then we gotta look for 3,700,000. I'm sorry, 4 million. Alright,
I mean, it's nothing that we'll have to decide today, I mean, but we will need to propose the tax rate by the 14th so that we can set in motion everything that has to be done, which is not Monday's meetings of next Monday. And that will be the drop dead date we have to propose it. It will not be adopting it, but it will be proposing it. Because that sets a lot of other things in motion. We have to file our proposed budget with the county clerk's office, and we have to get it on the website, and we have to advertise, anything that we increase, we're gonna have to schedule a public hearing. We have to schedule a public hearing for the budget anyway, which we're looking at the 5th of September because of the holiday, and adopting on the 11th. Yes, the 11th. So we have to do, it would be ideal to be able to do it Monday, but I don't think that as a board, y'all are gonna be ready to propose. And if you are, right, we can do it Monday. Just gets us a little closer.
alright, well, if there are any further questions or nothing?
so does, the number that she has on here, does it include the tax on the new construction increase in value?
Yes, because the numbers that I've calculated on this. When she calculates the rate, she takes those numbers out, but when we calculate the levy, we calculate it on the total
Not everything,
that.
just that amount affects that.
It just, it affects the.
No new
the
tax rate.
calculation.
The appraisal district has said, they set the values as of January 1st. So say in that new neighborhood, Kokomo, where the houses are going up now.
They won't go into it. They'll only set the value at what's being constructed, it's just like.
Gotta be
As of
completed.
December 31st.
Right.
Gotta be
as-
completed.
As, they'll, if it's like 10%, they'll put 100, whatever they think that's worth at that time. It's just like when they did the Pearl Point. Last year it was on the tax roll for the second
Well-
phase, but the second phase was only on the tax roll for $1 million. They're complete now, so it should be on the tax roll, which is part of that new construction that was taken off as
So
part.
what did their value ended up with when it was final and messed up?
I don't know. I haven't gone in and looked at it, Commissioner. I would feel like it's at least the 12 million like the other one, but it may be more. I don't know. I just think. I don't know that they've got it up on the.
My guess is
website
not
yet.
enough.
That's true.
Well, yeah, but.
Well, like I say, I mean, if we know it's sold for $40 million, and it's only on there for 12, that seems probably the most ridiculous appraisal that I've
I
heard
brought
come,
that to the.
heard come out of
appraisal.
there. And, you know, they exposed it, or I guess you would say, in open court, and it was
We did.
before the first
You're correct.
of the year, and why wouldn't they? And Pat brought it to their
Yeah.
attention. That's just
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
They have not looked to see if the new values are on the website yet. They are, Thomas told me they are. So,
I mean, and I know we rebate them most of it back, but at those values,
but it's a very
It's-
small amount that we give back to them.
yeah, but
Because
it's,
they're paying a very small tax based on what the value of the product.
but those values, what we would get out of it at those values
Right.
would be astronomical compared to what it was
Definitely,
before they were built.
definitely.
We use the same tax rate as last year, we would still be in a hole.
Yes, about $1 million. Somewhere around there. I'm not suggesting that we try to make up everything in 1 year. It may take several years. My concern is if we lose this increment where it does restrict us so much next year to where the increase might be 500,000 instead of $1 million. We need to look at that. We need to verify that before and let y'all know to help you make a decision.
Because if you don't do any, you get to a spot where all of a sudden you've got to do a drastic
And
increase.
that's where we are right now, because we haven't done anything. We did one penny last year. And that honestly is why we're where we're at right now. Instead of doing small increments each year, we're at a point where we're needing to do more than what we would feel comfortable doing.
Talk about, hotel motel tax funds. We have a handout, the homework.
And all of these are in there right now.
They are not in the budget right now, not all of them.
Now, what page is that? Do you know offhand?
Let me. Yeah. So that is.
Is that the fund number?
Yeah, that's the fund number.
280, yes, ma'am.
Hey, I got it.
Okay.
What is it? 63.
Thank you. So what is in the budget currently are, the 4% of collections, or the aquarium is at 10% of collections. You'll see Friends of the Fulton Mansion at 4%. And then the others are what was sent in as requests, like, for example, Mardi Gras, 8,000 and so on and so forth. But then the column out to the side, you guys wanted to see what they requested. So some of that is in addition to what the estimated calculations are. So Maritime Museum. They requested $35,000, so we proposed revenue 800,000, 4% of that is the 32,000. I don't know, and we're restricted. So I don't think that was possible.
Well, for the Rockford Center for the Arts. In the book that we have, it showed the 40. And the 40 includes the 32,000 for the Center for the Arts. And then 8,000 for the conference center.
Yes, it is.
So actually, I'm thinking on this sheet. Shouldn't that 8,000 be in line two under hotel motel tax distributions?
Yes, ma'am. So you'll see I did create in the new sheet I gave you this morning, a new line showing, separating those two, the 32,000 and then that request of 8,000 there.
But you don't have it under the proposed like you included it.
Right, exactly.
Okay, because I would like to put it in there when Luis came in and gave his presentation the other day and showed what the attendance had been in the short amount of time that that facility's been open. I think it's definitely proving itself. And since it was already in here, I would like to have it on this sheet.
The only one I really have a question about is it seems like a big jump on the cultural arts district.
They requested 20,000 last year. Commissioners only gave them the 10.
Yeah.
They again this year requested the 20. That's, you know.
Well, I agree with Commissioner Casterly. I think 10. Ideally, this is to go towards marketing and promotion and advertising. And I think the Cultural Arts District is doing a tremendous job of getting the railroad depot going and activities down there. But basically, they use social media, and that is a very nominal cost. So when I've looked at their budgets that they bring in on the quarterly reports, they're not spending very much money at all. On advertising, it mostly goes to salary, which isn't what we're supposed to do. So I would say 10,000. And I don't know if it matters or not, but they did get from the city almost 130,000, so that's significant.
We also don't have anything in here for building the aquarium. If we're going to use funds to build the aquarium, whether it's going to be partially this year, or I'm sure it will go into next year, we need to recognize that in these expenditures.
Yeah. And I mean, we have
We get enough.
the surplus that we have is more than enough to pay that and have a lot left.
Use fund balance on that.
So do you want us to not show the 80,000? You want us to show what?
No, I think we need to do a separate line that is for capital outlay, and we'll just show that.
Yeah.
Get a number, I don't know, of 1.5 or 2 million, whatever.
So the percentage that is allocated to them, has that money just went into, because they haven't used it,
It's just. staying
since
in
it's
fund
been
balance.
gone, it just reverts back to fund balance, okay?
Now it needs to be over here, so she can.
Well, I'll ask you, Tim, and then I just won't look at you.
Okay.
And on Mardi Gras, I think we pay them reimbursements, right?
Yeah. Up to the 8,000.
Okay.
Yes.
And on the Wings Rescue, do we pay them that flat amount, or we pay them based on?
Invoices.
I
I know, but I'm glad Jackie
I
answered though,
am
because
not
I
going to come to the next
do
one.
not know that.
So on, like on La Mardi Gras or Oyster Fest or one of those, are they confined to only use it for advertising?
Yes, they are. Yes, sir.
Okay. And everybody is that's on here?
Yes, sir.
Doesn't,
My only question is on Wings Rescue. They do a really good job and everything, but what are they advertising? I don't know that I've ever seen any Wings Rescue except in the local paper.
To billboard.
Yeah, I think they have
We did
billboards.
not even get though a request from them this year. We didn't receive anything. This is just a continuance from last year.
so do we have a requirement that they request us every year? I mean, I think everybody does, but.
I don't really.
I mean, I send out all the notifications. Like several months back, and
Sometimes
Yeah.
those
Got
things that are
response.
manned by volunteers.
I know, change the volunteer changes, but
We could
yeah,
reach out to them.
But
I did.
No, I meant,
Oh,
we can call now, I
Follow
mean,
up.
today and ask.
yeah, I did contact pretty much everybody except I couldn't, the Wings. That was the only contact I have and the only information I could find anywhere. But everywhere else, like the different, chair people change and I've updated almost all of that.
And the Fulton Mansion seems to be
And that
going
was
through site
another.
managers.
Mhm. I'm dealing with someone I had never dealt with before on that one, so. But Wings, I didn't have any other contacts
You know,
to call.
my thought has always been that if you want money from the county, you ought to come to the county and tell them why you want it and show what you've done with it. And I'm not against Wings Rescue. I think they do a really good job. But
Well, in the
I'm not
past,
sure
they
they're
have
meeting our
always come to
requirements.
the,
Yeah.
to,
But-
workshops.
But what do they use it for? Because they don't really advertise a lot.
They do a
Just say they have billboards.
I've never seen a Wings Rescue billboard. Where are they?
I don't know, 35,
On 35?
Yes, sir.
Where?
close to 16th Street, right in that area.
Yeah, but it's local. It's local. I understand that, but my idea of what this is bringing additional people in, which, you know, everybody else has areas that they call from: San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, you know, West Texas, that and they have billboards out there or something. Some way that somebody would say, well, let's go to Rockport and see what Wings Rescue has.
Well, I think they come for the birds, and Wings Rescue helps maintain the bird population. And I
Okay, but
don't
that's-
have the document in front of me that talks about using the hotel motel tax. But one of the things is a birding center that's on there, just like the aquarium. And it is a birding center of sorts.
Well,
Like I say, I think that we should put all of them. I just had a question on the amount that the cultural arts district increased there. So.
Yeah, I'd like to keep it when it is.
So you're okay with the chambers increase as well?
Yeah, I am. I think, I mean, on the chamber one, I said that's basically the cost of what the advertising that they've always done is done, which they're also doing the hummingbird and then you have the pottery fair that, I mean, they're minimal to what we're giving all these others, that we have been given in the past.
If we're using it just for advertising, because Chambers also getting was like 66,650 and then another five.
But that amount of money is not used for an individual event.
Correct.
The money that we give them, it's a generic Rockport Fulton advertising, and just like all of the others that we give to. And these ones, the newer ones on the bottom would be to advertise for those specific events, which, I mean, I think Hummingbird Festival and Seafair too, they bring a lot of people to town, and, their request compared to everybody else is pretty minimal. My thing every year is, I think we need to look for things. And maybe there aren't anything that are in the county, because all of the money we collect is from facilities that are outside the city limits. But if you look at the list, we spend very little of it outside the city limits. And there's nothing really out there, but I think if there's something that's actually happening in the county, which La Mardi Gras is, and Fulton is to Worcester Fest kind of is to, but most of our stuff is in the Rockport city limits is where we give the money to. So if something pops up that is outside of that, I feel like we should fund something like that, but.
Maybe we should allocate more to like keep Aransas County beautiful, where they clean up the shores and.
Well, we have this year.
Oh, yeah, we're increasing it.
I don't know that they've really asked, which the thing about them, they helped with the boat clean off, and there's a lot of beneficial stuff that they're doing with. I mean,
Yes, they did send in a request this year for 5,000. The
Was it
keep Aransas.
an increase or.
Yeah, we've been paying them three,
Okay.
well, just 1 year.
Like I say, they did the boat deal and furnished all kinds of volunteers and did a lot of stuff, and
They do a lot of clean beaches. which is also something that the hotel motel tax can be used for. Yeah, I'm very much in favor. I'll just mention that the chamber did get 385,000 from the city of Rockport for marketing Seafair and Hummingbird. So that was a significant chunk of change.
Well, all these other people probably got similar amounts of this.
This was from the city's minutes.
We do three amounts from the city. I never speak up about the chamber, but I can.
You may.
Read that, 300 something thousand for general marketing, and then they get a separate amounts, small, I think they're 5,000 or 15,000, I don't know the exact amount for Seafair, and then separately from Hummingbird.
Okay. So maybe more than 385,000. What about the airport? Because actually what you were just saying, things being outside of Rockport. I know they're planning on doing an air show or fly-in or something in December and then next year.
We should probably.
We did give them some, we gave them a motel for advertising for this last. We
should add.
we can put them in here and do that.
Because they don't get it if they don't, like say, if they're having to produce the invoices to get money that we allocate to them anyway.
We put them in for 10.
They asked for less.
Maybe 10, because I think they asked for 8 with this last, I think they had about $8,000 in expenses for advertising. Okay, so
10,000.
At the airport.
for that flying. For the warbirds.
So we'll put them in for 2024 with 10.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. What about the Council on Aging? They requested $5,000 for that pottery fair.
I think you should include that.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of people do come into town for that. I know the Center for the Arts helps promote it too, but that's a very good event.
Yes, all right. Do I have anything else? I believe that's all we have to discuss about budget. Unless y'all want to bring anything else up?
So, since Elle has a fund and the list of stuff that she gave us. What do you think about, I think that the carport deal that you wanted to put for the mechanic to be under and specifically the radios seemed like a safety deal and that wasn't a big amount. And she has her fund herself, so it's not going to affect the general fund. I think those two things that we should go ahead and
And I think,
put in there. I don't know about
I
anything
don't
else.
know if we want to put those in next year's budget or what we're going to do them.
Maybe
I think we need
Either
to
one, if we
probably
have
do a
time.
budget amendment and actually put those in,
Okay,
because it is a safety issue for them.
Now, that would need to be on the agenda.
and
We will put it on an agenda. It won't be on this one. We may get it on the 14th. But we'll get it on the agenda to do a budget amendment to use some fund balance, some of her fund balance.
it didn't seem like she was, she was laying it out that she needed the other stuff in the future.
Yeah,
But I didn't get the feeling that she was really pressing us to.
I think what her idea was is that they had the loader in there, but the guys would be willing to forego the loader for a while to get a better building for the mechanic other than just the shade structure.
Yeah.
Although they will continue to use that also for storage of some equipment or something, but that was, they had put $265,000 in for the loader, and she felt like that would do the building for what they need, and then they can add on to it at a later time.
So was she wanting to go in, since they had the
Well, I think she was looking at that. I think this, by the time you do all the engineering and all of that stuff, or it'll be in next year's budget.
Yeah,
So what about a vehicle? I didn't quite understand. Is she asking for a vehicle?
well, the pictures of that truck, he needs one.
We need to verify that because she had said something about getting a vehicle from Road and Bridge when they were having the auction, something that was gonna get put in the auction that he got. I don't know what department she was using it for.
Maybe
but I
that's what that
thought
guy
that's-
needed in his mechanical.
Yeah.
That one was an
That was an old mosquito truck.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
So
Didn't she talk about needing a new sprayer?
the
That
sheriff's
she does
department,
have
are
them in her,
they getting rid of any trucks whenever they're buying their new vehicles? Do we know
No,
what they're,
sir, not right now. They just got rid of a bunch in that auction we had,
yeah,
And Renee got one of those trucks.
right?
But she said something about getting one from Road and Bridge that they didn't put, they kept it out of the auction and she got it. I don't know if that was for the mechanic or if it was for transfer station.
I think the way he has that truck loaded, if he drives on the road, it's not safe.
No.
No, it's
Look at that
not.
truck, you can tell it's well overloaded, it's capacity and
It's what,
it's not in good physical condition.
I don't want to drive behind it.
well, I think, she should try to come up with a price for the building and see what we can come up with a way to fund it, or,
Okay.
she,
For 2024.
I would think so.
She's got the fund balance to do it. It will diminish her fund balance. It
Yeah.
will pretty much wipe it out with the projects that she's got now. Even if we do the budget amendment and do that stuff, it's gonna use part of that fund balance, even though don't anticipate all of that altogether being $20,000, but it will reduce it.
And that 1 cent increase, I use the transfer station several times every week because we don't have a courier, a pickup service there. And, I bring out a truckload of stuff sometimes and it's like $21. That's not near enough. It's fine for me as a consumer, but we really need to look at that.
Mhm.
One bag of garbage in San Antonio dump is $40, one bag. But that's a lot, that's run by
But they
a
throw a lot
private
of stuff
company.
out on the street.
Yeah, well, I understand that, but bring 7, 8, 10 bags of trash in and cost $14. I think we could stand to go 2 cents rather than 1 cent on the increase on it and to help her with the fund balance because she's, the transfer station's getting older. We've had to replace dumpsters and different things like that. And the business is not doing any less every time. It's just increasing.
Now, one of the things that she didn't necessarily speak on, she's looking at purchasing tarps to cover the containers. Because TCEQ requires those containers to be covered
The ones that are on location.
and they're not. It's something that we need to look at and be sure,
We have to have a structure.
right. They can put the tarps over them, but the structure is ideal because then the tarps, they have to take them off and put them back on.
So they require them to be on during the day? So they would be.
No, if they would
So
be-
just after the place closes?
Well, they're really supposed to be covered all the time. That's why we're talking about a structure rather than tarps. Because they would not keep them covered if they just used tarps until the end of the day and cover everything.
And another thing too is
Security,
a lot more problem compressing the garbage down because they're compressing out there every day.
But those containers should be under a structure.
Yeah, because when
Whether
they
for-
rain, whether the factor on.
And I think that once they get the building, the idea is that carport that they do for they will use that for one of the containers that's overnight that's sitting there and be able to put it under the cover. There are some needs out there. There's needs everywhere.
All right, anything else? If not, motion to end this meeting,
So moved.
Second,
second by Commissioner Duke.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Hi.
Commissioner Castellane,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dukenyak,
I
Judge Garrison.
Hi. We'll adjourn that meeting and y'all want like a 5-minute recess before we start the.
How much coffee did you drink?